Imagine being born into a world where every neighbor is an enemy, every handshake hides a dagger, and survival demands ruthlessness, because this is the world that shaped a boy who would one day bend all of China to his will. A boy named Ying Zheng, later known as Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor of China. And his story begins not with glory, but with fear, betrayal, and blood, as he was born in 259 BCE during the Warring States period, a time when China was shattered into rival kingdoms locked in endless war. And from his earliest days, danger followed him like a shadow, because his father, King Zhuangxiang of Qin, had once been a political hostage, and rumors whispered that Ying Zheng might not even be his true son. A rumor that would haunt him and fuel his paranoia for life. And when he was just 13 years old, his father died, thrusting the boy onto the throne of Qin while real power rested in the hands of the cunning regent Lu Buwei, a man who had risen from merchant to kingmaker. And at first, Ying Zheng was a puppet, watching and learning, absorbing lessons about power, deception, and control, until the day he realized that to survive, he must become more ruthless than anyone around him. And when he came of age, he struck without mercy, crushing a coup led by his own half-brother Lao Ai, executing traitors, banishing Lu Buwei, and making it clear that the boy king was gone, replaced by a ruler who trusted no one. And with his grip on Qin secure, Ying Zheng turned his gaze outward to the fractured world beyond his borders, where 6 rival states stood in his way, and he unleashed a war machine unlike anything China had seen before, driven by legalist philosophy that valued law, discipline, and absolute obedience over mercy or tradition. And Qin armies marched with iron discipline, wielding superior weapons, harsh laws, and terrifying efficiency, conquering Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi one by one, sometimes through brute force, sometimes through espionage, assassination, and psychological warfare. Until in 221 BCE, after decades of relentless campaigns, the impossible happened. The warring states fell silent, and China was unified for the first time under a single ruler. And Ying Zheng declared himself Qin Shi Huangdi, meaning First Emperor of Qin, a title that announced not just victory but destiny, because he did not see himself as a king among kings, but as the beginning of an eternal imperial line. And once he held the world in his hands, he reshaped it with terrifying ambition, abolishing feudalism, crushing the old nobility, dividing the empire into centralized commanderies, standardizing laws, weights, measures, coins, and even the written script, forcing millions to live under one system, one authority, one vision. And while these reforms laid the foundation for a unified Chinese identity, they came at a brutal cost. As dissent was silenced, scholars who opposed him were buried alive or executed. Books that challenged his rule were burned, and entire populations were conscripted into massive state projects, including roads, canals, palaces, and the early Great Wall, where countless laborers died from exhaustion, hunger, and cruelty. Yet Qin Shi Huangdi believed all of this suffering was necessary, because in his mind, order was worth any price, and chaos was the greatest evil of all. But even as he ruled with absolute power, fear gnawed at him, the fear of death, and haunted by assassination attempts and obsessed with immortality. He sent expeditions in search of the elixir of life, consumed mercury-based potions that slowly poisoned him, and built a tomb so vast and secretive that it mirrored his empire underground, guarded by the silent ranks of the Terracotta Army. Thousands of life-sized soldiers, horses, and chariots crafted to protect him in the afterlife, each with unique faces frozen in eternal vigilance. And in 210 BCE, while touring his empire, the first emperor died, not from an assassin's blade, but likely from the very elixirs meant to make him live forever. And in a final cruel twist, his death was hidden for weeks by corrupt officials to maintain control, as the empire he forged through fear and force began to crack. And within a few years, the Qin dynasty collapsed, consumed by rebellion and resentment. Yet even in failure, his legacy endured. Because though his dynasty was short-lived, the idea of a unified China ruled by a centralized emperor survived for over 2,000 years. And today, Qin Shi Huangdi remains one of history's most controversial figures. A tyrant to some, a visionary to others, a ruthless boy who grew into an iron-fisted emperor, proving that the same qualities that can build an empire can also sow the seeds of its destruction, and that the line between greatness and cruelty is often written in blood. And if this story of power, ambition, and ruthless determination changed the way you see history, then don't let it end here. Hit the like button to show your support. Subscribe to the channel for more intense, untold stories that shape the world, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next epic rise or fall. Because history isn't just about the past. It's about understanding power, choices, and consequences that still echo today. And I want you to comment below whether you see Qin Shi Huangdi as a brutal tyrant or a necessary unifier, because your perspective keeps this conversation alive and helps this channel grow.